Even when the village slept and the moon cast silver shadows on the ground, the trees whispered. No one knew what they said, only that their voices rustled with warning. Everyone in the village knew the rule: never wander too deep into the wooden forest. But time softens even the sharpest warnings, and curiosity has a way of creeping in like morning mist. One bright afternoon, 3 friends, Nola, Adia, and Curry, set off toward the edge of the forest, drawn by the promise of sweet oranges hidden beneath the tall, whispering trees. Their laughter brushed away old fears like dust. The forest buzzed with life, monkeys chattered in the treetops, squirrels darted through the branches, and fruits of all kinds hung ripe and colorful. The sweet scent of guavas, oranges, and wild berries danced in the air as the girls moved quickly, filling their baskets with laughter and excitement, eager to bring the forest treasures home. The forest echoed with laughter. Nola, Adia, and Curry darted between towering trees, their colorful wraps fluttering as they reached for juicy fruits, golden mangoes, wild oranges, and plump berries. Monkeys swung overhead, tossing half-eaten fruit playfully at one another. Squirrels chirped from their branches, and the sun filtered through the thick canopy, casting dancing light across the girls' smiling faces. Their baskets were nearly full. Adia giggled as a monkey stole a fruit from her hand. Adia chased it off with a stick, laughing. Nola knelt to gather fallen berries, her eyes shining with wonder. But among the towering trees and wooden structures twisted into shapes almost like homes, yet not meant for humans, something stirred. Something ancient. Something hungry. And the forest was watching. In a hidden chamber of the woods, a giant ogre blinked awake. His rough brown skin creaked as he rose. His eyes, dull and sunken, flared with new desire. He sniffed. He growled. He listened. Then he moved. One moment the girls were chatting beneath a fruit-laden tree, and the next, a shadow fell. The air grew cold. Leaves shuddered as the ogre burst forth. Nola screamed, but too late. In a blink, the ogre scooped her up and vanished into the trees, leaving behind only crushed grass and scattered fruit. Adia and Curry ran. Tears streamed down their faces as they reached the village, calling for help. But help could not reach Nola now. The ogre's name was Abuno. His home was no cave, it lay deep within the heart of the forest, farther than Nola had ever dared to wander. They walked for hours, the ogre's heavy footsteps shaking the earth beneath them. The sun shifted high and then began to fall, shadows stretching long and cold. By the time they arrived, it was almost evening. The place was a fortress, crafted from towering logs, bound with thick vines, and lined with moss-covered walkways that creaked with age. Twisted roots formed strange rooms and narrow, winding halls. The air was damp and heavy. Birds never nested there. Squirrels never came close. Even the wind held its breath. Nola's heart pounded in her chest. Escape was impossible, for now. Abuno hurled her into a prison of thick branches, bound tightly with woven vines. The walls were sturdy, the gaps too small to squeeze through. She was trapped. He crouched beside the cage, his foul breath curling through the air.
Rest, little snack, too skinny now. I feed you, fatten you, and when you're nice and plump, then I'll cook you.
Licking his cracked lips. He chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound that made the whole wooden fortress tremble. Then he collapsed onto a bed of tangled roots and began to snore, each breath shaking the leaves above like thunder. Nola curled into a corner, her mind racing. She had only a few days, if that. She had to find a way out. But Nola was not only scared, she was thinking. Planning. Every day, Abuno brought her food, wild vegetables with strange shapes and strong smells. They grew only near his home, deep in the forest. He pushed them through the cage.
Eat. Get fat. I want meat, not bones.
Nola ate a little, but saved some. She didn't want to grow too strong or heavy. She needed to stay small and fast. She waited and watched. She learned how Abuno moved, when he slept, and which way he walked. And then, she remembered something. A few weeks ago, Nola had walked in the forest with her grandfather. They had passed a strange patch of ground. It was soft and covered in leaves. Her grandfather had said,
"That's an old hunter's pit. Be careful, if you step there, you'll fall in."
Nola had not forgotten. After several days, one night when Abuno was fast asleep and snoring loudly, Nola looked around her cage. She found a sharp stick hidden in the dirt. Slowly, she used it to loosen the knot in the vines. Her fingers hurt. She was tired. But she didn't stop. Click. Snap. The knot came loose. She crawled out of the cage quietly. Near the door, she saw a basket with some oranges. She took a few, not to eat, but for her plan. Now was her chance to escape. She ran, dodging roots, leaping over logs, and every few steps, she dropped an orange behind her. One by one, like breadcrumbs. Toward the pit. Back in the hut, Abuno stirred. He sniffed.
Smell sweet.
He muttered, standing with a thunderous yawn. Then he roared.
Where's my snack?
He sniffed again. He saw the trail. He ran. Branches snapped. Trees shook. Birds fled. Nola kept running, heart pounding in her chest. She spotted the pit just ahead, covered in leaves and branches, just as she remembered. She leapt over it with all her strength and rolled to the other side. Behind her. Crash! Abuno had stepped right into the trap. He fell with a terrible roar, and the forest echoed with the sound of his rage. He was trapped. Nola didn't stop to look back. She ran. Through thorny underbrush, over roots and stones, across rivers and hills. For 2 days and nights she pushed forward, resting only when her legs collapsed beneath her, drinking from streams, guided by the stars and the rising sun. By the time she reached the edge of the village, her strength was nearly gone. Her clothes hung in tatters, her feet were swollen and bloodied, and her skin was streaked with dirt and scratches. But her eyes still burned with fire. When she stumbled into the village square, people froze. Gasps echoed. Pots dropped. Children stopped mid-play. For a moment, no one believed what they saw, Nola, the girl they thought lost forever. Then, from the crowd, 2 figures screamed her name, her parents. They ran, tears streaming, arms open wide, and pulled her into a trembling, tear-soaked embrace. Adia and Kari pushed through next, their faces crumpling as they threw their arms around her, crying and laughing at once. They held her tightly, as if afraid she would disappear again. The villagers surrounded them, eyes wide with awe and disbelief, listening as Nola, her voice hoarse and cracked, told them her story. The ogre. The towering wooden house. The terror. The old hunter's pit. And the trick that saved her life. Silence followed her tale, then a roar of cheers rose, rolling through the village like thunder. That very evening, the strongest men and women set off into the forest. They found the pit just as she had described, and sealed it with thick logs, stones, and sacred markings. The ogre would never harm another soul. And Nola. Her name became legend. Songs were sung of her bravery. Children pretended to be her, chasing ogres through the fields. And in the heart of the whispering forest, a new story was told. Of the girl who faced a monster. and returned stronger than ever, carrying nothing but memory, wit, and the will to survive.